So now, in this video, we're gonna have Bernie Sanders, which I assume he's gonna use U.S. talking points on why the invasion of Russia was horrible, is bad, and Putin's a terrible person. So yeah, that's I haven't seen this video yet, so I'll react to it live. Just like I'm seeing it for the first time because I am. So let's check this out.
Right now, as we speak, invading Russian military forces are moving across Ukraine. We are witnessing the most massive military operation in Europe since World War II. There must be no ambiguity in acknowledging that what the whole world is seeing today is nothing less than a blatant violation of international law and of basic human decency.
Hold on a second. Are you kidding me? You're telling me that yeah, I mean, just ignore all of U.S.'s international law violations the last 20 years. Let's ignore all that. Putin's a bad guy, according to Bernie Sanders. He's the bad guy. We're the good guys here. We're trying to stop him, but he's a bad guy. Just ignore the last 20 years of invasions and offensive wars attacking other countries that didn't attack us, etc. Oh, our war crimes in Yemen, we're supporting the Saudis in that. Our attacks, our bombings in Africa using drone strikes. Ignore all that. Putin's a bad guy.
This war will likely kill thousands of people and create millions of refugees. At a time when the global community is already struggling with the COVID pandemic and climate change, this war could plunge Europe into long-term economic and political instability. Make no mistake about it, the effects of this war will be felt here in the United States and countries throughout the world. Russian President Vladimir Putin has justified this war in various ways, including by claiming in a recent speech that Ukraine is not a real country, but simply a part of Russia. Regardless of what revisionist historical argument or flimsy legal pretext Putin may offer, this war is clearly an act of premeditated aggression against Ukraine and its people.
Hold on. Let's ignore the fact that the United States overthrew the government of Ukraine in 2014. Let's ignore the fact that NATO is actively putting troops and missiles on the border of Russia. Let's ignore all that. Let's just blame Putin and premeditated aggression against Ukraine and its people. What, the overthrowing of the government in 2014 was not a aggression against Ukraine and its people? No, of course not. Putin's little invasion is, according to Bernie Sanders, just using administration talking points. Embarrassing.
This aggression is unacceptable, and the nations of the world must respond vigorously to defend democracy and the rule of law. In my view, it is clear that the United States and our NATO allies made real efforts over the past weeks and months in trying to address Putin's stated security concerns.
Bullshit. There's no way that they did not address his concerns. The United States has made it crystal clear that they will not. They will, and they haven't made it clear, but they haven't made it clear that that Ukraine is not into NATO. Will not never enter NATO. That's Putin's primary concern. Obviously, he doesn't want more missiles and troops right next to his border in Russia. So the United States did not address those concerns. In fact, they actively said, no, well, we don't, I mean, they didn't make any promises that Ukraine would enter NATO. Wouldn't enter NATO, excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, that's just a lie right there.
Tragically, those offers were not reciprocated. As a result, now is the time to maintain unity with our allies and impose severe sanctions on Vladimir Putin and his government. Severe sanctions. These moves should not only isolate the Russian economy, but should include freezing access to the billions of dollars that Putin and his oligarch cronies have stashed in European and American banks.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. The U.S. isn't going to do that because ultimately, who makes money off Putin's billions and his oligarchs' billions? The U.S. bankers. They want that money. They want their cut of that money. They don't give a fuck. They're not going. That those type of sanctions never going to happen because the U.S. banks don't want that type of shit to happen. Like, no, I mean, we need our cut. What are you talking about? You're not going to sanction them like that. Are you out of your minds? Hell no. Hell no. I don't care. That's why it took us. That's part of the reason why it took us so long to get into World War II because a lot of the bankers working with Nazi Germany. So yeah, so that's not going to happen. That those sanctions of Putin's money and trying to freeze his accounts so he can't touch him. That's not going to happen. U.S. bankers are not going to want to lose their cut of that money.
At a time when he is inflicting enormous suffering and destruction on the world, Putin, one of the wealthiest people on earth, should not be allowed to enjoy the billions he has stolen from the people of Russia. I would also note that today, even as the Ukrainian people are bravely resisting this aggression,
The neo-Nazis that are resisting this invasion. That's what they are. They're Nazis. Bernie Sanders is talking about like the Ukrainian military and the government's innocent of this. No, they're Nazis. Let's be real. And that's what Putin's mostly fighting.
anti-war protests have taken place in 40 different Russian cities, and at least 1,000 Russian citizens have been arrested for opposing the war. Today,
I can't dispute that. If I'm being real with you, I can't dispute that. So I don't know whether these protests are real or they're some kind of Western setup, but I can't dispute that.
I stand in solidarity with these incredibly brave people. In an authoritarian country like Russia, protest is an act of enormous courage. That is why Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who has done so much to expose the corruption within the Putin government, sits in prison on trumped up charges, having survived an assassination attempt.
I'm not gonna. I don't know. I mean, why is he defending Navalny? Is just beyond me here. They're just so disappointing. And Bernie said, I mean, he's a right winger. He's a right wing billionaire in Russia. And I don't know whether Navalny wants to be president or not. I don't know the internal politics of Russia. I don't know whether those charges are trumped up or not. But this whole thing of defending Navalny is like, ugh, it's just so groan worthy from Bernie.
Putin may rule Russia today, but he cannot hide the truth forever. His day will come, hopefully sooner than later. Today, I hope all of us will stand with the Ukrainian people against this war and with the Russian people who are demonstrating against their corrupt, reckless president who started it. The images of war that we are seeing are painful.
Hold on, reckless president. He's been trying for peace or trying for resolve this for years, ever since the Minsk agreements and the Ukrainians never honoring it. He's been trying for years, and now all of a sudden, now he ends up finally, sending in troops because they're not. The Ukrainians are actively trying to poke him, and he's finally decided, you know what, I'm just going to send troops to protect the ethnic Russians in the eastern part of Ukraine. So, yeah, it's not a crazy president or psychotic or whatever words the U.S. officials want to use.
And I fear that worse may yet be coming. In the midst of all this horror, one area where American leadership can be very helpful is in providing aid for those refugees fleeing war. The United States must work closely with our international partners in providing humanitarian relief for the Ukrainian people, and we should also commit to accepting more refugees here in our own country. Many of you are no doubt wondering what you can help do to end this terrible conflict. In my view, the most important thing that we can all do right now is stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people against this war and with the Russian people who are risking so much to demonstrate against their corrupt, reckless president who started it.
That's the word he used.
Putin and his oligarch friends seek a divided world and the destruction of democracy.
Any evidence for that? No. Just say it. Because people believe it anyway, so let's just say it. Use State Department talking points.
Our worldview is different. We want to see robust democracies in every country on earth, including Russia. We want a world in which people come together to address the enormous problems facing us all. At the end of the day, it will be that common humanity based on the principles of justice that brings us together and enables us to prevail. Thank you very much.
It's just so disappointing, man. It's so disappointing that Bernie Sanders is just using State Department talking points and stuff in this war. It's just so disappointing. It's like, oh, it just drove me crazy listening to that whole video. I just couldn't. I'm glad it ended when it did. I probably would have stopped it. I couldn't take it no more. I was at one point a big Bernie Sanders supporter. That's no more, obviously. I mean, I just keep using State Department talking points, CIA talking points. He russiagated himself. Remember in 2020, he russiagated himself. So clearly, this guy he has really no interest in standing up against, against the deep state and the military-industrial complex, the administration, whoever we're talking about here. He has no interest in standing up to these people. He just wants to use their talking points and be like, "Oh, am I a good boy now? I'm a good boy, right? Can I be accepted into the elite?" That's what he's doing here. He's desperate to be accepted by these people. Well, that's all I have for this video. I mean, this is the first time I saw it actually, so which is why it just pissed me off. Like I didn't want to talk anymore about this because that was just an embarrassing display of Bernie Sanders and embarrassing himself in order to make the administration happy. It's just unfortunate and disappointing too, and it's just I'm annoyed. So I'm just gonna this video here before I start cussing up a storm and and etc etc etc. Well, until next time, I'll see you guys later. Disappointing.